Hey, Vinyl Community, Jeff back again with a little find video from the weekend, and a story, and a perplexing, not perplexing, but a question. So I went to an antique mall this weekend, one that's out of town. We just were like, let's head over there and have some fun. Plus, there's a restaurant over there that we only ate at one time that we really liked. So anyway, went back to this place. But I noticed some things and reading some reviews online about places like this. And it made me think, what's the difference between thrifting at thrift stores and antiquing at antique malls? Because in days of old, antique stores tended to be places where you find old stuff. And somebody commented on this particular antique mall. I was just reading some of the reviews. This is just nothing more than just like a garage sale, of junk. And we have an antique mall here in town, and it kind of is. It's not, you do kind of find antiques. You do find some stuff that may be classified as antiques, but a lot of what people sell in their booths, in their rented areas, are knickknacks and things that maybe could be considered more garage sales. There is that one particular booth that I'm talking about where he must think that everything he owns record-wise are antiques and worth a lot of money. Let me show you some examples. This guy, I say guy, and I'm using that as a neutral term. This person, whoever runs this booth, they have couple hundred albums. Same amount, a couple hundred albums that I saw last time I was there, and no wonder why when you look at the prices this guy has. I think that they think everything they have is worth $20, $30, $40, $50. 50 being the magic number, because almost every album that was worth, in my opinion, even considering to buy for somebody like me, all of them were $50. Look at some of these. I mean, I'm flipping through some numbers here. Some of the most generic albums that you would see every day of the week for way under 20, probably most likely under 10. I mean, just some really common stuff. And yet everything is 50-50 and in bad beat up condition. I did not even take the time to open up to look at the vinyl itself. Who knows if that condition was any good. But over and over and over, just pretty generic, common stuff that you would hardly see anywhere else for over $20, most likely under 10. And yet everything there like that this person thinks is worth 50. And in some cases I saw that one for 100. I'm like, no. It makes me wonder, and every time I see that in my own mind, I think, what are they smoking? What are they doing? Drugs? What kind of a thought process is this? The other thing is, so moving on from that particular booth, I will come back to that in a second. I found one record in there at a little booth that just had one little bin of about 20 albums. And they had, and I don't even know what year it was. I should have looked it up before doing the video. It was a really old Rolling Stones album. I don't know much about the Stones. Not a big fan, but I'd never seen this album before. It was old, black and white cover, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, that'd be interesting just because I like, from what I've heard, I like the older Stones sound from what I like. So I went over and I was investigating it. I picked it up. The cover itself was split totally across the top, falling apart. The album inside had no sleeve. They wanted $35 for this album. I pulled it out. I wouldn't put it on my turntable. I could not consider playing this album. Scratches, scuffs. It was beat up. And I'm like, do people not look at what's inside? They just throw $35 on that. It's a coaster. You couldn't even play that. I don't think you could even salvage the album. It was that bad. And I'm like, what are people going to pay $35 for? The beat up cover just to have the old antique Stones album? People are oblivious to, they just think they vinyl records are worth a lot of money. They throw prices on there. Anyway, going back to that one thing, I did look through this guy's stuff. And looked at all the bins and just laughed at all the $50. Everything was 20, 30, and 50. Most everything that, like I said, that I would have been interested in was probably close to 50. But I did find this. SteveMorse Band, the introduction, 1984. It was in pristine condition. He had it marked $4. So he did have some brains when it came to this particular one. So I don't know. I grabbed this and I thought, no wonder this booth's albums don't seem to be going down, because they have way too much. And this is cool stuff, 1984, instrumental SteveMorse stuff. I thought, I don't have any of his stuff from this time frame. So great stuff. And like I said, it was in pristine condition. So for $4, I had to do it. Everything I bought would have been considered thrift store prices. And I did, and a lot of the booths had stuff, as we always find at these antique malls. A lot of the places are crazy priced, and a lot of the stuff is beat up, and a lot of the stuff is not worth it. So I looked at quite a few records. I did go to the one place where I bought the most last time. They had a really good selection, but literally, in my opinion, everything was twice as much as it should. Common everyday albums were, nothing there was under like $18. I'm like, this is a $6 record every day of the week. And we're talking Blackfoot and just generic stuff that you see, Molly Hatchet, just common classic rock stuff. They had them, and they were all $18 to $22. I'm like, no. So I bought nothing from that particular place. Looking for gems, that, like last time I found the Alice Cooper album there, and it was a decent price for a decent condition. For that type of an oddity. But found another place that they had 2 or 3 boxes, and they had a handful of cool 80s stuff. Nothing fancy here. REOSpeedwagon. Good trouble. I know people say I buy REOSpeedwagon junk. I admit I cut my teeth on High Infidelity. That was when I came into REO. I wasn't much into the 70s stuff. 81 rolled around. That was my first album. That's my still nostalgic favorite album. I do not have that on vinyl. One day I will. I do have that on CD, probably the only CD I've got. I do like the previous stuff, some of the previous stuff. I would like to get, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish, things like that. Some of the albums where the hits come from, I would eventually pick those up, and I just haven't yet. But this is the era I have. So High Infidelity came out, 1982, this came out, I picked this up. And so this pop era is where I really enjoyed it. And then the next album after this would be the next one I'd buy. So if I see them, this one, $2. I couldn't pass it up. It was in great condition. So again, this particular booth knew what they were doing. Thrift store prices, $2, excellent condition. They also had Built for Speed by StrayCats. Not a big StrayCats fan, but I do have the Rant and Rave album that came after this. And I thought, I hated these guys in the day just because they seemed so antithetical to metal that I was into. But in years later, I appreciate Brian Setzer's playing. I appreciate what they were doing. So I thought I'll pick them up. They had this for, I think this one was $4, $5. I don't know. And now I didn't realize until I came back and I saw on Discogs, this to me was considered the first StrayCats album, because it was the first StrayCats album in the U.S. This is the one that hit the shelf with, Rock This Town, the StrayCats strut, things like that, all the things we were seeing on MTV. So my assumption, it's the first album by the StrayCats. I get back and I find out it's technically, and there was a big to-do about it on Discogs, where this is technically a compilation. They had 2 albums out, Gonna Ball and StrayCats, in 1981, mostly just overseas. And this is the first U.S. release where they took 4 songs from one album, 6 songs from another album, put them together on this album. So this is a compilation of 2 albums from 1981. They threw Rock This Town on there, I guess, as a new song, and they put this out in the U.S. as a album for the first band. So it is technically a compilation in that sense, but in my mind, it'll always be the first U.S. album. Just happens to have material that appeared the year before. So I picked that up, and to add a little bit there to my second one there. And then I finally picked up Color in Your Life, the third, and what I would consider more or less the final closing door on Missing Persons. They put out 3 main albums. I have the first 2, and this is the last one. Now, they have done some stuff. Dale Bozio has come back, and she's done some stuff in recent years. There has been some stuff released over the past, couple decades here and there. But as a band, with Terry and Dale and all those. There was mainly these 3 albums as far as I know. There was an EP that came out after the first album, which I'll probably get one day. But it's just got, a couple songs on it. But for the most part, these are the main 3 albums, and this was there in great condition. And again, everything, I forget, one of them was a couple dollars more, $5 or $6, but everything was in a very decent, under $6 price range. So yeah, so I picked up 4 quick things. And like I said, there wasn't a whole lot there. I'm always looking for those rare finds that may be worth pulling the trigger with spending a little money extra on. But I tell you what, the booth that had all those records, they did not have anything like that. I kind of want to leave a note sometimes if there was some way to contact people and say, I'm telling you right now, there's not a single record in your entire collection that's worth $50. I saw nothing. Everything you've got here for $50, none of it's worth $50. At best, everything in your collection is probably $10 and under, so you're never going to sell these records. Some of the stuff was so beat up. I'm like, you don't have anything here. Everything is so overpriced. So I don't know. Maybe they'll learn eventually when they don't sell anything. It's been over a year since I was there last, and I didn't see any less records at this particular person's booth. They still had the same amount, hard to find and look through, but I scrambled through them, and they've actually got more that overflowed into a second booth. And I'm like, it's obviously the same person, same handwriting, and same $50 prices on so many ridiculously common albums. But that's it for this one. Don't want to ramble too much. Fun stuff. I'll see you later. Rock on and rock hard.